I am Maestro Drake. And have you ever seen drama like this? I've watched a little bit of her take. I mean, amazing. Jillian Michaels, who we think of as that sexy trainer, who's lesbian, by the way, so it's a shame for you guys who liked her. But yeah, she couldn't handle this. Yep. You know who else quit? Doug Bowser. So he announced his resignation. Everybody's been seeing the news for hours. So this is like a half day old news story, but Doug Bowser is quitting Nintendo. Let me get the proper tweet and the proper text. Kito-san, yeah, Kit Ellis liked my tweet about Doug Bowser. He'll be the first guest of 2026, probably. He might be the first guest of 2026, but I am also quitting. Now, I collected Nintendo, and when I get Metroid Prime 4, do Let's Plays, I will be kind of chronicling some of the games I bought. But for me, it was just, I started out, my second sister got me Game & Watch, Game & Watch, Mickey Mouse. Look at those three characters in the public domain now, as of January of 2026. So she got me Mickey Mouse Game & Watch, which is still in great condition. And I have my Super Mario Brothers Crystal Screen Game & Watch, and some other one, but I just have two of the Game & Watches that function properly. And then I got an NES not too long afterward. And my first games were Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Jr., I think, came a little bit later. But I got some of those basic games that Atari thrived on. Because my youngest sister, my third sister, who is still alive, my second sister is not, she had the Atari 2600 for years, probably from the late 70s to the early 80s. Because my memory can only go far so back. So, I started out with those basic games. And then I moved to more complex ones like Mickey Mouse Capade and Jaws and Spy vs. Spy, Simon's Quest, Castlevania 3, Spy Hunter, Battletoads, Batman. Little did I know that Nintendo had kind of like gagged exclusive contracts for a lot of those people to develop Nintendo. Had I known, maybe I would have gotten a Sega Master System or Genesis. But that was the 80s, early 90s. Nintendo ended in 94. And as the Super Nintendo began in 91 through 97, with the last games being Donkey Kong Country 3, Super Mario RPG, with, was it Frogger? Frogger and Madden, being the last games. And I enjoyed, the memorable things you had were Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, which was the first sport, well, if you don't count NES Open, and the Donkey Kong Country games. These were fun. This was the best times. This and some of the Genesis shared third-party games. Like between Genesis and Super Nintendo, it was a really great time. That was before Nintendo PlayStation came around and didn't come around. I think I saw so many, like maybe 20 pictures of the Nintendo PlayStation from 92. Never came out. Sony took the PlayStation blueprints and made what they wanted anyway. After the Game & Watch, you had Game Boy. That opened my eyes up. Game Boy camera. Still functions, that Game Boy camera. Don't have the Game Boy printer, though. Don't know how you would refill the paper and stuff. I remember I had an ex-girlfriend who she wouldn't play. I had so many complex games up until the GameCube, right? And I met her in the 2000s. All she wanted to play was fucking Tetris. I have so many memories of Nintendo from 1988 onward, not including the Saturday Supercades, which was from the early 80s. So my memory is just kind of weird. I don't remember stuff. But Game Boy, even if it wasn't, Sega always bashed Nintendo for not having color screens. They had the spinner screen, but there were more games, which is why the PlayStation won out over the Super Nintendo and N64. But Game Boy was fun. It was fun. Tetris was fun. Alleyway, Super Mario Land, then Super Mario Land 2, Wario Land 2. Wario Land 2 was good. It still is. I still have the original version of Wario Land 2, but that one doesn't work, so I have the DX version. and Link's Awakening. Some of the Rareware Donkey Kong Land games, Donkey Kong Country for Game Boy Color. And N64, that was the Rareware console. Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Conker, Perfect Dark, Joanna, GoldenEye, which I foolishly sold at Swap Meet, not realizing its value, and that I probably could have tried it again. Mickey's Speedway USA or Mickey's Racing USA, Diddy Kong Racing. What am I? Oh, Jet Force Gemini. So many great games. Of course, you can't forget Super Mario 64. You can't forget Ocarina of Time, Zelda, Majora's Mask. Even though they fucked up with Sony, Nintendo tried to do their own thing. They had their reasons for doing cartridge the way they did. This was the final cartridge system. Actually, it nearly isn't if you count the fact that they still use like cartridges for the Switch 2. But I enjoyed this. You had Game Boy Color hookup. And then I got the N64 for Christmas of '97. I have the Virtual Boy somewhere. I have it upstairs. I mean, people have seen the Virtual Boy. You've seen it. I talked about it on the Nintendo Direct. Get to my Game Boy Advance. I picked this up before the GameCube. Fantastic. So I think the first games I got was not even for the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. It was The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Then I got F-Zero, Terminal Velocity, and then I didn't get the Mario games. I did get Mario Pinball Land, and I'm trying to think of other ones. Didn't get I never got Pokemon stuff for the Game Boy and all that. I have Driver 3, I have Max Payne, Yoshi's Topsy Turvy, WarioWare Twisted. So there were different ones. I accumulated so many. When you hope to get a whole library of games when you buy your new console. Virtual Boy is the one where you kind of don't have. I think the only one that I have no games for, but I have is the Etch-a-Sketch Animator 2000. Yeah. I have so many of these GameCube games. The last one was at the Robinsons, Meet the Robinsons, and I don't know if it was TMNT. It might have been Ratatouille. Ratatouille might have been the last one, but I'm not sure which one Nintendo. Oh, I think there was Mario, Peach, and Yoshi in NBA Jam or Street Jam for Volume 2 or 3, something. One of those basketball games where Mario could be in it. People are clamoring for Mario to show up in Sonic Racing Crossroads, which could happen, maybe. True Crime Streets of LA. Yeah, so there's a lot of games. Streets of New York City, Chibi Robo, Wind Waker, which is my favorite Zelda game outside of the series. And Sunshine was good. I enjoyed Sunshine for what it was. Luigi's Mansion, which got a 3DS remake, was great. The problem was that, of course, Nintendo would always say that the discs were always like, the disc had to be small. As though they were afraid that their games would get copied onto DVD-Rs or whatever. That's entirely possible, but, I mean, you just didn't want to really get with the in crowd. They wouldn't do this until we got to the Wii. They wouldn't, until you got to the Wii. So you had small discs. I was looking forward to that DVD compatible, that silver GameCube one with the little dot matrix sort of screen to tell you about your disc ready or whatever. And it had where was that? We saw that at shows, but was that ever available to Americans? Fuck no. That kind of pissed me off. Nintendo started to piss me off with different things. GameCube was when they started to get low scores. Doshin the Giant got a low score, but that was IGN. So, like, Nintendo started having some games that were not as good as their classics. Because if you go back to N64, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Nintendo, they had like 9s and 8s. They had perfect grade games. And then after the N64, then they got a little bit lazy with the GameCube stuff. I mean, Mario Dance Dance Revolution, was that great? I don't know. So, but at least you had a lot of third-party titles still. The last Wii games I picked up so far was Excite Truck and Excite Bots. Um, and I still have a working Wii. I still have a working system, Wii U. 3DS. I don't know where my 3DS is right now. The Wii was the first sort of smart device Nintendo thing. It took Nintendo like how many years? They should have had an online friendly system with the N64. In fact, the original Nintendo had a LAN adapter at the bottom of the box, but no online connectivity. Maybe it was possible with the Famicom, but you didn't have online connectivity until we got to the Wii, until you got to like DS and 3DS. You had like Wi-Fi hotspot, or not spot, like you could had Spot Pass. So great memories with the Wii. My favorite game, I think, is Red Steel 2 because you could have like oodles of fun with that Wiimote Plus. I also liked No More Heroes. There's another game I want to get for the Wii. It's really cheap at $20. But used games, I'll still get used games. But Galaxy's great. Super Paper Mario is the only Super Mario game that has not been re-released. If you want to get it, if you have a Wii U or a Wii, you could still get it. Will they remaster that? People complained that there were no memorable characters in Brothership, but there were not memorable characters in Super Paper Mario. People gave that a free pass because it's old, I guess. The Wii U. Now, Star Fox Zero. The Wii U, I got this. I got it before I got the Steam Deck, after I got the Switch. And I was curious about these games. The main game I was curious about, and they remade it for the... They haven't remade this game, I'll tell you that right now. They haven't remade Color Splash, but they haven't remade Star Fox Zero for the Nintendo Switch. Will they ever fix this? I don't know. Probably not. They'll find some... I mean, this is the one that killed... This is the game that killed the Wii U. But I like that second screen. And I think that second screen is still useful. That's what I was hoping the Switch 2 was going to be like. The second screen was going to be there, and they went back to the Wii U's method, but not completely. Like okay, you have a second screen, but you could also dock it, or you could connect the Wii U to the dock, but it's not in the dock. You could have it as a second screen. I mean, they tried that second screen stuff since the GameCube with Wind Waker and Four Swords Adventures and other games. And I tried to like this one until we got to the Landmaster level. I just couldn't get into it. Color Splash is great. I don't have the Zelda games on there. There's some games like Mass Effect that hasn't been re-released. Mass Effect is not on the Nintendo Switch or Switch 2. Where's that at? I mean, there's just some national treasures that you can only get on the Wii U. But Mass Effect 3 is fun to try if you ever get a chance to play that. I like the second screen. I like that gamepad. So far, it still works. But they won't repair those anymore, along with the 3DS. How nice of Nintendo. Brings us to this. Yep. And you got Super Smash Brothers. Now, I remember Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. When I went to Target all those years ago, that was there on the front display. Of course, it had to be under plastic, sort of a guard. So when you picked it up, you had to like go to the electronics section to have it released so that you have to pay for it. So yeah, you got to protect your stuff, right? People be stealing stuff out of the stores. The gangbangers would be like, should we steal this? Yeah, I think it's worth money. Yeah, they have to scratch their heads, their bald heads, and figure out they got to steal this shit. Yeah, homie, you got to steal this stuff because I think it's popular, you know? But yeah, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, I was trying to get Sonic Crossworlds to work. It would not work, so if Mario's on Sonic Crossworlds, I will not be able to play that. Sorry. Just how it is, because just how it is. But I will not be missing much. I'm okay with that. I am. But aside from that, I mean, I've had good memories. The Labo VR works well with Zelda Breath of the Wild. I finished Tears of the Kingdom. I played a little bit of Pikmin 4. There's Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I'm just kind of going back. I'm playing a little bit of TSR on the Switch. There's other games. I have, do you know that I have four different SD cards? I do. I have four different SD cards for all my games, and not including the internal storage. I mean, this thing took up a lot. So some games are downloaded, some games are physical. Uh, some games like the Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is physical. Others like Brothership is on the system. I'm going to download Pac-Man 2 World 2 Repack on here. Um, and I have my Steam Deck after this, but let's get to the last part of this, because at this point it's with a heavy heart that this will be my last new Nintendo game. Any other Nintendo thing will probably be used. It's been around for a while. I'm not planning to get Galaxy and Galaxy 2 for the Switch 2, um, or Switch 1 actually. The newest sort of Switch 2 product I have is the Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo. So I'm proud to have that. So I have made some contribution to Nintendo for Switch 2. It's just not the system. I can't tell you what it is. Is it the DMCA stuff? Is it Nintendo using the tariffs as an excuse to charge more money? Is it the Universal connection? Is it the Super Mario Brothers movie that kind of got a little woke? Is it the way they don't deliver the titles the way the fans want them to? You know, they throw out, all these IPs like Dylan, Dylan's Rolling Western and Chibi Robo and Ness from Earthbound and Snipper Clippers and all these different characters you only see one time and they never show up again. The F-Zero racers, they're not back, right? Pit from Kid Icarus came back in 2013, 2011, never came back again, except for Smash. Mr. Game & Watch, well, there's no Game & Watch tribute games. Nintendo could make they could make a series of Game & Watch games that are only like accessible on the Switch, like you could play like Luigi's Mansion Game & Watch, but it's not a real Game & Watch, right? Or Breath of the Wild Game & Watch, or something like that, where they're just tributes to the Game & Watch. So I'm making up stuff to say, let's go back to what made Nintendo great. So they lock a lot of things behind NSO. No more virtual console. They don't want you to play the board games from like Hyrule. I have a funny feeling Hyrule Fantasy, the Japanese only game from Bandai for The Legend of Zelda, is going to come back, but come to America in English. Okay? So we'll see. Because they got to have something. But games just have, the fact that like you had a game like Super Mario Battle Royale got by shit canned by Nintendo for the Super Mario Brothers 35, and that got shit canned because it was a limited time. A lot of things have contributed to that. There's always a new system. There's always a new thing. This is Nintendo Switch 2.0. It's the Nintendo Switch, but faster, with ability to handle the speed and the graphics and the sound. So they could play first generation PS4, Xbox Series X game, or Xbox One X games without a problem. Right? So that's what people are happy with. You got Mario Kart World, you've got Donkey Kong Bonanza, and you got higher speed versions of, and this is going to be on the Switch 2, but I'm going to get the Switch 1 version. This will be the final Nintendo Switch 1 game. Even though they've never said it, we know that it is. And I'm okay with retiring after 37 years. I don't see the point. Every future game now will be on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is accessible. Gabe Newell, whatever Gabe Newell's political views are, he breaks bread with his audience. He doesn't care about homebrew. He doesn't care about homebrew hack or fan games. He'll care if Nintendo doesn't want it on their store. Okay, he leaves it up to the people to emulate things somehow. It's up to you. As Pat Contry once said, you don't want to have that open handshake with emulator people. Just do what you're going to do. I don't know what you're doing. I don't want to know what you're doing. And that's all there is to it. Now, there's a woman taking over for Nintendo, great. But it's as Kit and Krista said.
That's the plan. It's like you're there to do this job on an internal side. These days, the job is not to be a face of the company. So I think from all of us on the outside's perspective, you won't notice a thing.
Exactly. I was just going to say that, like, the people that are thinking, okay, now that we have a new president in, it's time for us to get back to the Reggie days where, Reggie was everywhere. He was the face of Nintendo of America. He was in goofy videos doing the Yokai Watch dance, and he was in Nintendo Directs, and he was doing all sorts of stuff. Interviews, quotes, and Reggie was everywhere, right? Reggie was sort of ubiquitous to the idea of being the face of NOA. And absolutely, that is not going to be the case for Devin, even though she's.
And look, I think it was Doug Bowser's answers about the way Nintendo was handling the Nintendo Switch 2. His answers about the $80 games, lower the price, drop the price. He handled that poorly. That might have contributed to his retirement. They didn't point this out, but I'm pointing it out now, okay? The drop the price trolling probably was like instrumental. In all of his years, in his decades being the president of something or being in charge, a businessman, he had never seen that kind of trolling in his life. Trolling in general he's seen, but not against his stand as being the president of where he's at. And he's only the fall guy, okay? The days of the Reggie Muppets and Star Fox Muppets and all this stuff, that's gone. Satoru Iwata's dead. The other guy before is dead, though. The one that was the Yamauchi, he's gone. Gunpei Yokoi, who created the Virtual Boy and the Game Boy, he's dead. You only got Shigeru Miyamoto. And when he's gone, Shigeru's still the face of Nintendo. And if he dies, the face of Nintendo's gone. So maybe it's corporate greed. Maybe it's just other things going on. We've had $70 games before with Super Nintendo, but it's become abundant. And with the Steam Deck, if I want to buy a game at a lower price, guess fucking what? If I'm just patient, you tell your kids, if you get good grades in school, if you're patient, you'll get the thing at a lower price that mom and dad can afford. That really does apply to the Steam Deck. Whereas with Nintendo, everything stays a high price for fucking ever. And your only hope is that you go to a swap meet or a collector's store and they'll knock off the price because they got to get rid of this stuff. Liquidation time. And so Nintendo's become a shell of itself. Look at Yang Ya videos. I'm just here to say that I moved on. And I will happily move on without Nintendo. Nintendo got my money for 37 years. It's someone else's turn.